Hi guys, so today I'm doing a review of Thundermother's new album, Heatwave. First of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to the band for releasing this and not delaying it or pushing it back due to the pandemic, because this is what everyone needed right now. Now, on their last album, I think people possibly got slightly annoyed with us because I was very critical, as I sort of felt like, aside from a couple of awesome tracks like Racing on Main Street, I felt like the album was largely a bit average and even bland in places. But I think now that this new lineup has settled in and released their first album together, they could really sort of work on something a bit more sort of catchy and impressive. Well, I'm pleased to say that they have done exactly that. This album is definitely better, in my personal opinion, than the previous one. And straight away from when the first track, Loud and Alive, starts, you can tell that this album has a different vibe. It's more powerful, catchy, and feels more positive. I don't know what it was about the last album, their self-titled Thundermother album, but it just, the atmosphere and the mood on it just felt a little low on quite a lot of the tracks. But this first track, Loud and Alive, really lifts your spirits, gets you rocking straight away. It's a good, strong song, good upbeat riff, and I haven't really got anything to criticise here. And it's the same with track number 2, Dog from Hell. Again, haven't really got a lot to criticise. This is a very good track, one of the strongest choruses on the album and hooks on the album. I love the lyrics, everyone sounds great. And it was definitely worthy of a single. They probably should have actually gotten this one out sooner, to be honest. The album then moves on to track number 3, Back in 76. This is another good song, again, very catchy. It's got quite a Joan Jett sort of feel to it. The only criticism that I have with this one is that I was expecting a little more from it, especially with it being number 3 on the album. I think it's sort of one of those songs where once you've heard 30 seconds or so of the song, you've sort of heard it all. Apart from the little solo bit in the middle, it's basically the same all the way, because it starts out with the sort of chorus, then the verse, and then you basically heard it all after that. So it's a good song, but I think I was just expecting a little more with it being the 3rd track on the album. The 4th song on the album is Into the Mud. This is a fast-paced Motorhead sort of song, quite like some of Airborne's songs such as Thin the Blood and Ready to Rock. I'm never completely blown away by these fast-paced tracks. They're not usually my favourites on the album, and I'm not overly addicted to Motorhead or anything like that. But this isn't a bad track at all, and I like it. The 5th track is the title track, Heatwave. Yet again, another good song, not too much to criticise. However, the next track, track number 6, is Sleep, the ballad. And this is where I'll get critical. Thundermother had a very similar song to this, Fire in the Rain, on the last album. And I said then that they pulled off this sort of slower style quite well. But Sleep, for me, is just too mainstream pop. It's, you know, Fire in the Rain was still a bit rocky, whereas this just feels, yeah, I'm just not into it at all. I'm not a fan of it. Musically, it's good, but it shouldn't have been written and released by Thundermother. But, you know, if they do want to have a shittier, slower song like this on every album, I'm fine with that, because musicians are creative and that's what makes them who they are. But please make sure that it's only one song on the album that's like this. Track number 7, Driving in Style, Back to Normality. This is a good track. It's got an immense amount of power to it, which I really like. When this was first released, I didn't have it on repeat a lot though, so I wouldn't say it's one of the strongest tracks on the album. Could have maybe had a better lead single, in my personal opinion. Next up is track number 8, Free Ourselves. This has definitely got a good riff. You could stick that riff on repeat for an hour and not get bored of it. It's like the lead guitar riff of Thunderstruck mixed with the sort of rhythm guitar of For Those About a Rock. So yeah, it's a really good song. The riff that comes in during the second verse as well is really great. This could have even had its own song and possibly could have been utilised more during the song. The only criticism I have for Free Ourselves is that the chorus possibly could have been better. I think the tone seems to change a bit as it comes into the chorus, and I don't know, it's good, but I think maybe they could have rewrote the chorus differently. Next up, track number 9 is Mexico. This is a really strong track, really like it. Once again, nothing really to criticise other than the fact that I wish I could get away on holiday to listen to it. I've got a nice palm tree backdrop actually behind the camera, but unfortunately I'm not there this time. Well, almost this time last year I was in the Caribbean. And I know actually, I'm not sure about the rest of the band, but I know Philippa actually did go on a beach holiday to Mexico during the writing of this album. So I guess maybe that's where the inspiration from this song came from. But yeah, it's a great track. Number 10 is Purple Sky. This fits in quite nicely with Mexico. It was probably written there as well, to be honest. Seems to have a bit of a Jimi Hendrix vibe to it. Either that or I'm just associating it with Purple Haze. The criticism I have for this track is that it's quite long, which I love, but only when something exciting happens. And I was waiting for like a good Hendrix inspired solo to explode, but this never happened. And upon the first listen, I felt like the song dragged a little, and I almost forgot that I was listening to it, to be honest, and my mind sort of wandered off to other places. But it's a good song. I think I was just, with it being nearly 5 minutes long, I was just expecting a nice solo at the end or something. Track number 11 is Ghosts. This returns back to the AC/DC Airborne inspired riffs, and it's a great song. Catchy chorus. It's got a catchy chorus with like the repetition of the background vocals. Nothing really to criticise. Next up, track number 12, Somebody to Love Me. This is the second song on the album, which I'm not a fan of. And not only that, but I don't think Thundermother actually suit this punkish style. Other bands like The Lazies sort of infuse punk into a lot of their songs, and they suit the style. But I don't think this is really Thundermother's area, and I think they should probably just avoid punk type of stuff. Personally, I think the best word to describe this song would be nasty, and for some people that's a good thing, but for me in this case it's not. The album wraps up with Bad Habits. This is a pretty decent track overall. I'm not too fond of the pre-chorus bit. Dinosaurs you can't avoid will hit you hard like an asteroid. But other than that, the pre-chorus, it's pretty good. To be honest, I was just thinking that it was sort of going to be an average track until suddenly, out of nowhere, Philip flicks the Angus Young switch, and we get that really nice finger-picking, high-pitched finger-picking guitar that I love. And by this point on the album, you know, this is the very last bit of the album. By this point, I'd obviously thought that this wasn't going to feature on the album at all. But then it suddenly comes in for this last little bit, and it really picks up the song, and the last chorus is great. So overall, apart from Sleep and Somebody Love Me, I really like this album. It's a really strong effort. There's basically nothing to criticise with the production of it. Everyone sounds great. The songs sound powerful. They have attitude and they pack a punch, which is awesome. In terms of the songwriting, it's great as well. But the one criticism that I have for the whole album, and it's the same that I have for most bands, to be honest, and it's just the length of the songs. Like, every song nowadays seems to be falling into this 3 to 4 minute category. You know, you've got the intro, the verse, the chorus, the verse, the chorus, a little solo, a little bridge, and then a final chorus, and that's it. It's wrapped up. On to the next one. And yeah, every song on this album pretty much has that structure, and it would just be nice on the next album to have one or two songs where they just let their hair down, you know, a bit more, build the song up creatively and just go on a ride with it, you know, and break the 5-minute mark, featuring multiple solos and maybe even speed changes. Because, you know, rock, I wouldn't say rock is declining that much at the minute. It's in a pretty steady place. But those 8 pushing on even 10-minute songs of the 70s seem to be long gone. And I'd like to see bands attempt 1 or 2 songs in their albums, you know, that are longer like this. And when you pair these absolutely, you know, when you pair these with an absolutely anthemic chorus and a riff, you've got yourself one hell of a song, which would be brilliant to play live and just an amazing piece of art for people to listen to. So hopefully we'll see some songs like this. But back to that album, Heatwave, overall, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Standout songs for me are Loud and Alive, Dog from Hell, Free Ourselves, and Mexico. I don't know whether I'm just really appreciating this new music given the situation the world's in at the minute, but to me this seems like a really good album, and it's back on par with Road Fever, which was the second album with the first incarnation of the band. So obviously you had Rock and Roll Disaster, Road Fever, then that sort of first lineup split up, and then I think they dipped down personally with Thundermother, the self-titled album, but then this is back up there, up a notch again. So hopefully with this being the second album of the second incarnation of the band, they can go even further with the next album to a point where they've maybe even never been. So yeah, that is my review of Heatwave. Leave in the comments below what your opinions are, what you think of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.